the image of this cinema isn't the best, so some of it is a little washed out. Otherwise, it looks beautiful thanks to this man here, Werner. And Chloe helped out on the crew. In a way, it was the three of us, a very small crew, roaming the streets and doing things quickly in case the cops came, whatever. And there were a couple more crew members. Thanks always to my wife, Vicky, who is always a support to me. And she's down here. And also Leon did one of the voices of Joshua on the end there, of the young slacker guy. And so that's the only voice we have here, I think, apart from, of course, Ben and... Oh, there's Sue. Sue did the voice. Oh, Sarah. Sorry, you can forgive me one slip up with a name. So Sarah did the voice of the mother, not the aunt. So, yeah, and so Leon here did the voice, and I think we've got everyone, sorry. And Grace did her own voice as well. Yeah.
So Bill, maybe we can start by talking a bit about the origins of the project and its development. Where did this start?
Well, for years I've always wanted to make a musical. It's such a hard thing to do without any money, and but for a number of years, even though I always loved music and musicals, or some musicals anyway, I was so enamoured with a different kind of cinema, a more realistic, soulful cinema, like a European art house cinema. So my first 5-6 features were basically very austere kind of dramas of the soul, without music even. And I let music play a big part in my short films. I've made a lot of short films. And I could, just play whatever I wanted, Madonna or whatever, and then put some images to it, and I had a lot of fun with that. But I made a film in Greece 6 years ago, a film about radical Greek music, and I experimented with the musical form in that film, and so I got some of the actors who were just band members to mime some of the songs. And this time round I thought, firstly, I guess as you go along as a cinephile, I've been interested, loving cinema for 40 years now, and I think after a while you do develop and change. So I went a little bit away from the European art cinema, and in the past 10 years I'm exploring more kind of musicals and surrealist films and comedies even, and like Jacques Tati, who I've really got into a lot. And so I thought, okay, I can do a musical too. And I was so in love with the 1964 film, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg by Jacques Demy. I thought, why don't I kind of set it in Australia, in Adelaide, and do my own version with some of the similar themes around, melancholy and loss and love. So that's pretty much the origins, yeah.
And tell us about the music.
The music, I wish the speakers were better in this place too. It was a bit raspy and a bit harsh at times, and without the right speaker. But the music, well, the great question is, like, how do you create a musical soundtrack when you've got no money? And, basically, I was watching a documentary on hip-hop, and I thought, wow, these guys in the late 70s, they just, grabbed these little samples from, records and then put their own voices over the top. And I thought, oh, I'll do that too. I'll get some music online, which I did, some free music. And initially I was skeptical about the quality of, the free music archive, whether, it did have good tracks or not. But after a while I found good tracks, and then basically created lyrics and melodies and got some of the singers in. Including, sit down guys if you want to, including like Leon on the end there, who's actually, in a band, and And Ben, the bookstore manager here, who did his own voice as well. He's in a band as well, and Lisa is as well, but her voice is not on the soundtrack. So, and Sarah, what are you doing down there?
I don't know, do you want voice people up there or not?
Yeah, Leon's up here. Sarah's a punk, she's a punk. As Lisa is too. You wouldn't know it from how they look at the moment, but yeah.
So could you tell us about casting the film, Bill, both the singers and also the actors, and perhaps we can hear from Amelie and Henry as well?
Yeah, the singers, it is hard when you're not offering money to people, but the singers, I was just looking for particular voices, and I found them. It was just like luck, really. It was just complete luck, because for example, the lead singer of Amelie's voice, Liz, there was really no other alternative. There was no second person or third person I had to choose from. And Liz's voice is like a real treasure, because she's like double Amelie's age. And you wouldn't know it practically. The voice suits really well. And as for the actors, again, because you're not offering money, when you start casting, you just put out a call through Facebook, and you hope you get some good people in. And I mean, I was completely wrapped with all these guys. And I mean, Amelie, especially the quality she's got, which is a kind of innocent, but also intelligent quality that she's got. She's got both of those things at once. And I thought, wow, she's going to be really great for this film. And the others, yeah, Henry, there he was. When I saw his first audition tape for something, he was playing a mean kind of guy, a real edgy guy. But I thought, yeah, he can play a romantic lead and then have a little bit of an edge in him, as he dumps the girl, sort of thing. But, I could go through all of them, but I won't.
Amelie, you've got the microphone. Can you tell us a bit about your experience in the film?
Alright, so it was definitely a new experience for me. Never done anything like this before. Like, I've been in musicals on stage, but yeah, definitely have not seen the style. So when Bill was like, oh yeah, it's based off of this film, I was like, okay, well now I've got to go watch this film. Yeah, but I really enjoyed the experience. It was really fun, exciting, and yeah, it was just great. And everyone was really great to work with. Like, everyone was just so easy and nice to work with. We all got along, and I reckon it's a really good cast.
Henry, I'm going to bring the microphone down to you. I've seen you in Flinders Drama Centre productions. I suspect this was a different mode to work in. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure I can. It's funny, like, I suck at auditioning, and like, when I met Bill at Burnside Village, we just had like exact same like interests in film.
We talked about European art cinema
For like an hour, and I was
so I thought, wow, this actor knows about this stuff.
And I was trying to like run down the clock so he wouldn't have to like actually see me act. Unfortunately, I did have to. But then, like, working on the film, I think Bill's vision is so, it's very distinct, and I think that's what's really cool about the film, is that he sort of utilises cinema as an art form, and you kind of have to figure out how to play into his stylised view of the world, And in this case, being a musical and just lip-syncing every word, it's sort of how to stay true to the moment and the truth of the scene, whereas also playing out this stylised vision that he's lived out in his room, writing it, however many months prior to the actually filming you did write it,
Sure.
So yeah, it was actually really, really fun.
Bill, how long was the production period? I'll come back over to you. And did you shoot mostly in sequence, or what was that process?
Yeah, we kind of did shoot in sequence, and you can kind of notice like Joshua's hair changes. Yeah. So that when the title comes up a month later, it's then definitely a month or two later when we're filming again. And it was shot piecemeal last year, 2022. from about April until about early August, and we had to go piecemeal because we did have a few cases of COVID and pneumonia, and a couple of us, Tina really kind of suffered a bit, and she braved out that very last scene where she meets the postie again. She was still kind of feeling a bit sick then, and basically I was praying all the way that the whole shoot would happen, because like I say, when you don't have money in a big kind of production, and you know, anything can happen. You know, actors can disappear, they can break a leg literally, instead of breaking a leg by having the audience stand and clap. So the production was then, and then basically editing later last year and until early this year, and yeah.
I think we've got a bit of time for questions from the audience. I can bring the microphone right up the back corner. Bear with me, everyone.
Where was the lookout and the waterfall and the suburb between Stirling? Most of it was Stirling.
Yeah, the lookout where they're kind of standing up high and looking down at the city is the Mount Lofty Summits lookout near Stirling there, near Crawford, Stirling. And the waterfall is at, what is it, Lovey? It's Waterfall Gully. Waterfall Gully, yeah. Kind of, you know, downtown, in between downtown and the hills. There's actually a walk you can do between Waterfall Gully and that Mount Lofty Summit, which the actors did not do. We filmed a bit here and a bit there, and then they end up at the top, and yeah. And the main suburb that the character, the girl and the mother and her brother live in is sort of like near Burnside, Kingswood, Hazelwood Park, that's it.
Inside post office.
Yeah, yeah.
Shop said Parkside, so I wasn't sure whether it was the suburb of Parkside.
Yeah, it said Burnside post office on the Burnside. Yeah, I don't think Parkside appeared anywhere.
That's
Yeah.
the name of the business. That's right.
Oh, okay, yeah. Excuse my ignorance of Adelaide places. I've been here a few years, I suppose, but.
Do we have a microphone? We're gonna.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I guess I was just wondering, in terms of post-production, a sound mix is probably going to be a much different process than that of a conventional film for a musical. Would you say it's, I don't know, like, does it take a shorter amount of time or a longer amount of time mixing for a musical than drama?
Oh, pretty much a shorter amount of time. I mean, you know, I had to mix the vocals to the music, and then I had to mix, you know, each track and song in relation to each other. And this sound system surprised me because a few of the songs went louder than I hear them at home. But I think that can happen with soundtracks. And in a way, it was good because on the crew, you know, Werner and Chloe didn't have to worry about a boomy, like a sound recordist. And so we were pretty free in that regard to actually move around and shoot pretty quickly. So.
Thank you.
How did you, you were shooting quickly, but the sync was fantastic.
Sync?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's the actors really did a great job in learning the songs. And then when there were a few mistakes, I just cut them out in the editing. You know, I can cut to the other person, and so yeah, I don't know. The syncing is one of those things that there's all kinds of editing tricks to cover things up, but they were fantastic.
Thanks, Bill. You said you've been moving away from French art also. I think you're French New Wave, but I mean, it struck me quite very strongly that in sensibility and style, it's Eric Romer in this film. And in fact, I've read a review just recently. It said you're out Romer, Eric Romer. Yeah, you know, just the kind of the you know the art of the everyday and the sort of the very the details and the ways in which people move and respond. And that's what I love about Roma, and it seems to me that really has worked well with a musical, partly the way the musicals, you know, because it's so, I mean, it wasn't overly produced, it was kind of believable, people singing, and, you know, was
Yes.
Roma part of, was that all part of what you...
Oh, look, Eric Roma is within me deep, you know, from, you know, the first 10, 15, 20 years I was watching films. And I think things like in Roma, there's a lot of kind of looking shots, what you call them, like reactions. So there's one character talking, but then, you know, Roma will hold on the other person listening to the person.
Yes,
And
the art of behaviour.
I employed behaviour. I employed a bit of that in this film, basically also because with the rhythm of the music, sometimes the singers the actors had to go on the beat of the music. So there's a lot of kind of waiting time, so I could cut to, you know, the listener rather than the speaker, which worked well. But otherwise, yes, Roma has a lot of everyday characters and settings, and he really, you know, honours the everyday, and my cinema has always been very realistic, and I think that's one of the kind of you know, main aspects of this film, is that it's a combination of like realism with this kind of magical stylized thing of the musical. So I think there was a question there. Yep.
I was just wondering what camera and lenses it was shot on.
Well, that's the man, Werner. He knows it's a DSLR, so you can speak about that a bit.
So it's a Sony A7 III, and lens-wise is a regular zoom 24 to 70 full, actually a dark lens. So all the part of the dark lens we compensate on the low sensor, the low light sensor, and the feature is all for color grading and solving all the other issues on color grading. Yeah, I reckon the best camera you have, it's the one that you have. So that's kind of thing. So low budget, run and gun. The autofocus system was really beautiful, especially walking backwards. I've never done a project that I had to walk backwards so many times. Yeah.
We were very
challenging. Very, very challenging.
Did you use like a steady cam or like a gimbal, or
It was a gimbal. It was a gimbal, a running gimbal. We purchased during the production, and it was a beautiful thing to have, especially for the transition before Amelie discovered that, he's with another girl. So we did a lot of handheld shooting after that, just to compensate and, to tell a better story.
Give it the more like jittery feel when she's feeling upset.
Exactly, exactly.
Got a question here.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
I was very impressed by the use of colour, especially because it's all shot on locations where you have like a really limited control of how things actually look. So I was kind of curious how much of that is, I guess, choosing the locations, how much of that is, I don't know, just bringing out the colours that there are everywhere through the colour grading process.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, obviously you can't go wrong with Stirling in autumn, with the kind of, red trees and the green kind of bushes and then basically with the colour grading, Werner, we experimented with pushing up the saturation. We didn't push it up too much in the end. At one point we had quite a saturated red kind of look to it, and we thought it's just a little overdone, so we pulled it back. And unfortunately, like I say, the projector here, it was quite milky at times. It didn't have the contrast, and the film actually looks a bit better than this. But every screen, every projector is going to be different, and you just got to kind of live with it, basically.
We had a question towards the back. Yep.
I'm just wondering if there will be a sequel between the mother and the
Yeah, you never know. It's, a lot of people, I mean, before tonight, hardly anyone's seen the film, but a few kind of critics and people like that who've seen it have commented on the posting, like the postie scenes at the beginning and at the end, and how this, you know, nice little exchange happens between them at the end, and which has nothing to do with the main story of the film. So it's like this kind of sidebar that is a curious little thing. And well, you know, anything's possible, but we also have other ideas for sequels, like when we see Amelie at the end walking towards the city and away from university, and the running joke we have is that, yeah, you know, her innocence is now gone, and she's now walking towards Hindley Street. and the film will be titled My Darling in Hindley. These guys are script writers. I didn't come up with this.
All right, we've got maybe time for one more question, and I'd like to ask it. Bill, you've done more than perhaps anyone else to champion fellow independent and emerging filmmakers in this country. I'm interested in the work you've done not only as a writer but also as a programmer with the Australian New Wave and Unknown Pleasures series, which I know you programmed with Chris Liskery, who's here. To what extent do you view this project as in dialogue with that broader curatorial or critical project?
Well, I guess it is in dialogue with it because I myself practiced, you know, this kind of independent cinema where you can bypass the funding bodies. I mean, I didn't even try with this film to get any kind of funding. I kind of looked at a couple of things and I thought, nah, it's not for me. And I think it's by osmosis as well. When I was younger, I did get funding for short films and for one of the feature films that I made. And then you get sucked into this system. And of course, I can't exist in that system. I don't make commercial-like films. So what I do is quite experimental in terms of narrative kind of cinema. And then the kind of films Chris Liskery and I program in Melbourne, and we've done a program in Adelaide in 2018 at this festival. They're films by directors who, really, with the cliche, they do have their own vision. They have their own independent kind of sense of what cinema is. And they're not getting much of a look in at the funding stage as well. And certainly at the screening stage, it's getting harder and harder for filmmakers who make films with no money to actually get into contexts like this. And the Melbourne Film Festival used to have a few films like that featured in the 90s, 80s, 90s and early zeros, and then they kind of abandoned that a bit. So in a way, what I do is part of that overall package of what I do. I mean, what I do as a filmmaker. But also what I do is in dialogue with criticism, you know, film criticism, and because I do write critical kind of pieces occasionally, and I started the journal Senses of Cinema, which, you know, is a critical kind of journal. And for me, it's never about your own kind of, you know, categories or pockets or corners that you have to work in and you can't work elsewhere. You know, why can't you be a cinephile, someone who loves films, a critic, and also a filmmaker? You can actually do those things if you want to. But at the moment, you know, in the industry, there's not much of love of cinema. It's a lot of, you know, people feel the need to make it. They just want to, you know, apart from the fact that you can earn a living from it, you know, they just want a certain kind of status and buzz around them as filmmakers. So I guess I'm more radical than that, obviously, and yeah.
Well, on that note, please join me in thanks to the cast and crew.
You can get flowers, right? I'll give them to Amelie. Amelie, you're a star.